Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. My name is Daniel. I'm just going to wait just 1 or 2 more moments just to let some people filter into the room for anybody who's just joining. So the presentation will begin in 2 minutes or so. Thank you. Perfect. So I think we're good to start now. Welcome everybody, and thanks for joining my presentation today. Like I mentioned, my name is Daniel Jones, and I'm the Customer Success Manager here at School Finder Group. We have multiple websites, and our focus today is going to be with Scholarships Canada. And the primary purpose of today's conversation is to, I guess, educate everybody on really start to finish on how to apply to scholarships, what to look out for, break down some common myths, and a little bit more information as well, which hopefully you will all find useful. My colleague Chris is actually helping out with the comments and questions section. So as we go through everything today, please feel to pop in any questions as we go by. Chris will be able to answer some as we go through. Others we may come to at the very end when we will have a full-on questions and answers session. Which brings us to our first slide. So what is the value of post-secondary education? And again, this is not Canadian specific, this is just education specific. It doesn't make a difference whether you're looking at studying here in Canada or anywhere abroad. We have done some market research and we've sourced it from StatsCan. And this is a quick breakdown of what education can mean for your future employment, income, and services. So what we're looking at right here is the median annual earnings of both men and women aged 25 to 65 who work full-time and as full-year paid employees, and this is breaking down by their level of education. Now, what's important to note here is if you complete a bachelor level degree, whether you're doing computer science or you're doing nursing, it's completely different industries. These are broad generalizations. And again, we're looking at people aged 25 to 64, just because a lot of these people will have been working full-time with a number of years. So it's not necessarily just entry level either, but more so something that you can aspire to. This really tells its own story, especially looking at kind of the women's linear curve first. There is a real increase. You're looking at high school diplomas versus college diplomas. There's a big difference there in pay. And again, looking at women who have a college diploma versus a bachelor level degree, there's almost a 20K difference on average. So it's really substantial, and it really kind of provokes thought on why you should further your education. Likewise, in the men's category, looking at high school diplomas versus college diplomas, again, big jump, looking at about 12,000, and again, another 15,000 versus those who have graduated with a bachelor level degree. The key takeaway here is education is important, and over your career, you could expect to earn more than $1 million more with a bachelor level degree. And like I mentioned, we have a source here, so it is with StatsCan as well, someone that we work with regularly. But it's not necessarily just about money. Graduates of higher level education are more environmentally conscious, have healthier habits, I should say, and have a higher level of civic participation. What does that mean? It just means that you're more conscious of your environment and what's going on around you. Your habits may be healthier and maybe not necessarily just eating, but physical habits as well, engaging in sports and exercise to keep yourself in the right frame of mind, and also larger civic participation as well. The higher institutions promote this. It's a complete learning curve and something that you can match with your relevant job skills, but it does also prepare you kind of to be an active member of your community and society. So that brings us back to step one. How do you pay for everything? There really is no one short answer. It's different for every person. Savings and work, sometimes you're saving, you have a part-time job as you're still in grade 10, 11, 12, and that can accumulate to help paying for your college or university education. Likewise, family and parents, some people are lucky enough that they don't need the financial assistance, that their family and parents have enough resources and financial help behind them that they can help pay for yours. Loans is always a big one. Taking loans for short-term pain, for long-term gain, so that you can't afford to go to college, but you're able to take out a student loan with lower interest rates so that you can further education. That's a really big one. But what we're always trying to promote is funding your education through scholarships and bursaries as much as possible. And that's something that Scholarships Canada's presentation here will A, inform you on a little more today, but B, will be able to help you in the future by utilizing the website. When we talk about scholarships, another common question that we get asked a lot would be kind of what's a scholarship look like, or what's it worth? All scholarships are different. There's no easy answer again, but we do have tons of awards that are $1,000 or $2,000 scholarships on site. Looking at a $1,000 scholarship, it's not something to be overlooked. It's not going to cover your entire tuition. However, that could cover your textbooks for a year. Or again, if you're using public transportation, that could cover your entire year's public transportation needs. Again, phone bill, you're trying to stay connected. It's just an additional cost on top of everything else. Your scholarship could be used towards that. And likewise, there is the work-life, work and play balance. So it's not necessarily that this has to go directly always for your educational needs. Sometimes it can be used for extracurriculars. So what we will do is we'll look at some myths. Sometimes there's a little underlying factor that people think about, okay, well, I'm not the top of my class, or I'm not the top of something else, so I don't think that I'll be good enough to win a scholarship. So what we're going to do is look at some of these common misconceptions today and break those for you. And the most popular one, like I alluded to, is I don't have the marks. So on Scholarships Canada, we have over 80,000 awards on site, so it's really comprehensive. Everything from financial institutes to corporate organizations, and of course colleges and universities supplying scholarships and awards on site. Of the 80,000 on site, 85% of those awards do not require an academic average. The key takeaway is just because you're not getting 100% in all of your current tests, it doesn't mean that you're not eligible and in with a great chance of winning a lot of these awards that are on Scholarships Canada. Myth number 2 is there is a lot of competition. So again, we work and have a great relationship with a lot of the scholarship administrators that post these awards. When we say scholarship administrators, again, that could be personnel within the colleges and universities. It could be people working with banks like TD and RBC, or smaller awards again in smaller communities. And the feedback we're getting is 59% of the scholarship administrators would like more applications. It's not to say that the people that are getting the awards don't rightly deserve them, but they would like to see more competition for the awards they're administrating. Then there is some smaller type ones. And again, when we're talking about overlooking scholarships, this is generally the category we're looking at, but 3% of the scholarships received no applications at all, which just means if you applied for that $200 scholarship that you didn't really have an interest in, you may have been the only person to apply, and therefore you would have won the award. So it's not to overlook the smaller awards. Myth number 3, only schools give scholarships. So we work with tons of non-educational partners, as we put them. So again, organizations and communities, we have 10,000 plus scholarships that are awarded by non-educational administrators. So again, it's a really big portion of what we do is working not just with the colleges and universities, but also with future employers and kind of heritage groups and whatever else is involved in community-related activities, of course. It's really, anyone can give an award and anybody can win one. It's really that simple. Myth number 4, scholarship deadlines are only in the spring. Again, this is one that's directly related to kind of college and universities applications and when people believe that their deadlines are only available. From working with so many non-educational partners, they try to spread the award deadlines out throughout the year so that there is also less competition for their awards at certain times. So right now on Scholarships Canada, there's a ton of awards that have deadlines coming up and they may be before Christmas. Then there will be another flow and there'll be another flow again through the summer. Scholarship deadlines are year round. There's no, what we would say, dead time for applying. And myth number 5, I'm not in financial need. So again, when we talk about financial need, that bracket can change and it's based on circumstance as well. So trying to meet and find out what those requirements are not always a necessity. Of the awards on site, and again, I keep referencing this 80,000 strong number, only 36% of the scholarships require you to be on financial need on Scholarships Canada. So that means that 64% of the awards do not require financial need. You're looking at about 2/3 of the awards on this site. And remember, this is just a quick breakdown of all of the different pieces I've been talking about so far. So what my advice would be to everybody now, just for yourself or for your friends or your school colleagues, whoever it may be, is to take a screenshot of this either on your phone or a snippet, just to remind you of all the myths that we've just walked through. Perfect. So the key takeaway from the conversation is there's a scholarship for you. What we want to do now, and this is again understanding the site a little bit more, but also understanding some of the different types of scholarships that are out there, is we're going to look at some examples. Now, we don't have to worry too much about these specific awards. It's more so just understanding the requirements and the setups more so. But this very first one is for the Retail Council of Canada. So the award itself is looking for students who have retail work experience. So you may be working part-time in some sort of a store, and then automatically you fall into the eligibility requirement or eligibility category. And to apply for this award, it's relatively straightforward. It's just a reference letter and essay, just 500 to 700 words, shorter than most essays you'll get as for homework. Again, looking at the different types of requirement here, they do not ask the question if you're in financial need. It's open for all years of study. Now, this award, I will say, when it says all years of study, it does mean that all years of undergrad study. So you do need to be in a college or university level program. But again, it's not looking at an academic average. What Retail Council of Canada are doing here is they're trying to find great candidates who will hopefully be working in the retail sector going forward. They provide 20 awards every year. So there's 20 available. The awards range in the value of the prize, but they're worth up to $5,000 each. So again, it's a high value award and there's multiple available. So again, it's a great opportunity to apply for some of these awards. Moving on to the next one, it's a completely different category. So it's a university-specific award. It's for Ulster University in Northern Ireland. And for this award, it's for incoming students, but this award is designed for specifically Canadian students. So to be eligible for this award, you need to be applying to Ulster University in Northern Ireland, and you need to be coming from Canada. It's a renewable award for each year of admission, which just means renewable simply means you get it every year of study. So you don't have to keep applying. If you get it year 1, you will automatically get it year 2 and year 3. The award, again, there's multiple available. There's 10 available every year. And again, the actual award amount is dependent on the tuition fees that you're paying and different other requirements. So again, it's not specifically that it's one value. The award value does change depending on the applicant. And this very last one is provided again by University of Calgary. Again, different types of requirements. This one is for students studying in specific programs, so looking at kind of communications, media, or film studies. One last time again, no financial need required. And again, award up to $2,500, which just means that there is no specific one amount. It can be up to $2,500 depending on the applicant. So where to start? This is where you just take a little time to consider your own personal circumstances, which is important to consider before you start applying for some of these awards. Again, what field of study? Do you know what program that you're studying, what you're interested in, or if you're currently enrolled? If you're not sure whether you're going to be studying business or science or engineering, then that just means that you're not as focused yet. Maybe it's not ready to start applying for scholarships yet, just because all of the different awards may be dependent on the field of study. But once you're more in tune with, yes, I'm studying this program at this college next year, then you're a little bit more focused. Again, one thing that you don't really have to think about is what your year of study is, but to be aware of it at least. There will be a lot of scholarships that are available, and they are specific for entrance level or first year, or for second or third year likewise. That's one thing to be aware of. Different awards can be structured around different years of study. Any activities that you're involved in. So again, if you're really into sports and you're a high achiever because you're doing great with your hockey team, or if you're part of a religious group or some sort of community involvement, that's fantastic, because scholarship administrators love to hear that kind of stuff. One thing which is a really big one, and again, working with so many scholarship administrators, this is a little insight to everybody on the call. Volunteer experience goes a long way. If we're making scholarship, if we're doing scholarship applications, I should say, including volunteer experience will go a long way into helping you win, be seen, just attract the person who's marking your application. And again, likewise, academic average. If you are a high achiever academically, that's a great thing. Like I mentioned, it's not important for all awards. However, it is for a fair number. So if you are doing well academically, that's great, and have your most recent grades to hand. It will generally be your last year's studies, because that will go a long way to helping you win some of these awards, which do require an academic average. Other factors to consider: if you're part of a heritage group, again, there will be a lot of awards out there which are towards one group. It may be towards one nationality. There will be a ton of awards which have come up recently, which are for individuals within the BIPOC community. So again, just being aware of this circumstance and that some of these filters are sometimes in play will help you in your search for looking for scholarships. Affiliation, if you or your family are part of any religious groups, if they're part of any companies, if it's unionized or associations, again, that's a great way to look out for certain awards. Personal circumstances, again, this comes down to something that you don't really have to think about, but if you've had something happen to you which makes you stand out and is a real niche, whether you're an amputee, if you're a foster child, if there's been a loss of parent or guardian, then again, there are awards which are specifically designed around those personal circumstances. If you are in financial need, and again, this does pertain to your income and your family's income, check with the scholarship administrator for more details. We at Scholarships Canada can help you connect with a lot of these scholarship administrators, and we list these awards. However, if there are specific questions, what we always do say is reach out to the administrator. They love to field your questions. They love to hear from their potential applicants. So if you're ever unsure if you fall into or do not fall into this category or anything else, feel free to reach out. The administrators are literally there to help. And location, this is another factor. Some awards may just be specific to Ontario. Some awards will be specific to kind of studying in specific regions. So just being aware that location filters, again, are in play. That's something which will help you in your search. And then the next step is get matched with these awards. We at Scholarships Canada have created a website which helps you find these awards without having to go to multiple different sites. So like I've mentioned, within Scholarships Canada, one of the key pieces is linking you with these awards. And the best way to do that is logging in if you have an account already, or if you do not, to sign up and create your profile. What will happen upon sign up is you'll get asked about 20 questions or so. And it's all based kind of on your background, nothing too sensitive, just your background, some brief contact information so that we can send you some correspondence every so often. And then it'll look a little bit more about your education and what you're doing next. From there, we'll be able to match you with all the awards which you meet the eligibility requirements for. You might be studying, and let's take a broad example here, business administration, and you may be studying at University of Waterloo, let's say. Based on that, you may get matched with some scholarships in Waterloo. You might get matched with some scholarships which are Ontario specific. You may get matched with some scholarships which are business specific. And based on your background, because you identify as part of the BIPOC community, you may get matched with some further scholarships there. So again, you will see a list like you see here on the right-hand side, and it'll show you all your matching awards. Really simple. Now, what we always say is don't forget to subscribe to deadline alerts. You will get the option to manage your subscription. So whether you want to be contacted or not by email address, I always say yes. While you're looking for scholarships, always sign up to as many alerts as you can. What will happen is you get matched with all of these awards. And once a month, we will reach out and let you know of all the upcoming award deadlines, which are coming up based on the awards that you've just been matched with. So it's really tailored to help you. Likewise, there will be some administrators which might want to reach out and make you aware of some awards. And again, they'll only reach out if you're within the eligibility criteria. So again, it's just a really helpful resource to you. Then there is some other pieces go out as well, which again is all educational focused, all driven to help students. So we send newsletters once a month. And again, it's some great content which other schools just want to promote, and everything is information driven. There isn't anything here which would be as a loss for you. One of the important pieces is based on how many awards you get matched with, to review the matching scholarships. If your criteria are really broad, you could potentially get matched with 100 or more scholarships. It really depends on the individual, what you're studying, where you're studying, and so on. Some people will get a few, it may be 2 or 3. Some people could get 100. It could be anywhere in between, but it's always important to review the matching scholarships. You don't want to be looking at scholarships that maybe you're not inclined to apply for. So it's always good to take a consideration what awards you actually want to dedicate some time from, because it is a little bit of an investment level. These administrators are giving out awards and money as a prize. So again, it does take a little bit of work on your behalf. So reviewing, looking through the lists and the eligibility requirements, as well as what is needed to actually apply, is important. Just going through the list of all of the awards that you're matched with. Likewise, if you're aware of specific awards that you want to try and find on the site, we do have, of course, a search engine. So within the search box, you can type in either a scholarship name that you're looking for specifically. If there's a specific school that you're looking for, you can search those just to see what awards are given out at specific schools. So you may be contemplating studying at multiple different schools and you want to see how many different scholarships they hand out. All of that information is on site, and you can see this within the bracket here. School of study should be ticked in the case of schools. Field of study, again, let's say you're thinking of studying computer science. You could type in computer science and just see how many awards come up. The last one, of course, is provided by. You may be studying accounting and you're thinking of going into the financial sector and you want to see what awards are handed out by some larger financial institutions such as TD or RBC. You can look on the site as well to see what awards are provided by those particular institutes. There are all of these refinements which you can use on the site as well. So search by and refine by. And again, they're all pretty self-explanatory. It's really a great way of helping to filter your results so they're tailored around what you're looking for. And some quick general tips. Again, get motivated. Like I've mentioned, you have to be willing to put in the time. These are financial incentives. These administrators really do want to give it to the best candidates. So if you don't put your best self forward and if you're not motivated to actually put in that work, it does show. So it's important just to dedicate a little bit of time to this always. Investing your time, like we've mentioned here, try to dedicate a few hours per week. We all have busy lives. There's always kind of between schooling and kind of your social life. Sometimes it seems like a bit of a task, but it's not necessarily that you have to do it every week. If you have 2 or 3 hours to spare one week and the next week you don't, and then the next week you have 5, that's perfectly okay. The key takeaway is when you have time, it's important to dedicate a few hours to actually looking and applying for these awards. The other piece is Scholarships Canada is your BFF. Keeping your profile updated and signing up for the deadline alerts really is in your own best interests. We will help match you with scholarships and find more scholarships which you can apply to. And again, using this service is completely free for the students. So there isn't any fees or any sensitive data like that taken. This is all here to try and help you fund your way through your education. And understanding the requirements, like I've mentioned a little earlier when we talked about kind of financial need, it's important when you are dedicating your time not to apply and don't waste your time applying for awards that you may not be eligible for. If you're ever unsure, if you do have questions, like I've mentioned, contact the award administrator. They're here to help and they're always happy to help out. One of the pieces we talked a little bit earlier was applied to the smaller awards. There is a lot less competition. It is pretty much a linear graph. The bigger award, the more applicants there's going to be. What I always do when I was looking for awards when I was younger was I would apply to some smaller awards, some medium-sized awards, and some larger-sized awards. There's no deterrent, and we are not trying at all to say don't apply for the bigger awards because they also have to be won by somebody else. But what I would say is don't just look at the bigger awards. The smaller awards have a lot less competition. And if you won multiple $500 or $1,000 awards, that could easily rack up to $4,000 or $5,000 pretty quickly. And again, trying to win a $5,000 award is a lot harder than trying to win a $500 award. Be prepared. A lot of these awards will have generalized application routes. So having reference letters to hand, personal statements, resumes, some of those pieces are things that you can collect, update, and have at your disposal ready. And that will be a great help for you. Don't give up. Again, there is competition. This isn't just something that if you apply, you're guaranteed to win. So if you don't win the first 3, 5, 10, I would say even 20 awards you apply for, don't be discouraged. It's not that it's anything's on you. There is fierce competition. It's always about trying to better yourself. And the more awards you apply for, what you will see is that you actually become more accustomed to it. You will see kind of more faults and maybe what you actually can do to improve on what you're doing so far. Within the site, you will see at the top here the resources section. Within the resources section, there is both a tips and frequently asked questions FAQs section. The FAQs will be more so to do with the actual processes involved, and that's down to kind of applying, eligibility, and if you actually happen to be lucky enough to win some of the awards, what that will probably look like. However, the tips section is great because there's a lot of what to do and what not to do when applying for the awards. There really is a high volume of different tips portfolios that we've made up within there. So that's a great piece to check out. The last piece is keeping connected with Scholarships Canada. Once you have your profile created, that's fantastic. But what we do is we're very active on social media as well, primarily Instagram. Our handle is @Scholarships Canada. And again, what we do is if there's larger type awards or events or anything really that could be helpful for students, we simply post here. Again, it's a very active social channel that we use. So if you have questions, you can always feel free to reach out to us there and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And one last note just before I get to the questions would be just to check out schoolfinder.com as well. So you can use your same login credentials once you've created your account on Scholarships Canada to log into schoolfinder.com. Schoolfinder is more geared to helping you in your educational journey versus your financial journey. So if you're not sure what you want to do yet or next, or if you're just trying to gather some more information on potential options for yourself, Schoolfinder is a great way of helping to connect you with what options you may not even have known are available to you. So you log in and again, you'll have a matching school section here and it'll show you all of the different schools that offer the types of programs that you're looking for, but also in the areas you're looking. So you may tell us that you're just looking to study specific programs, but only in BC. Well, we'll be able to help and give you a list of all of the matching schools and matching programs that meet your search. So again, it's a better way of helping to inform you of what's available. We have comprehensive school and program profiles for every school within Canada. Outside of Canada, we do have a lot of school profiles as well, primarily in the US, the UK, and some other regions as well, like IE University in Spain. So again, we have some brief, concise data, all simply laid out, so it's easy for you to digest. And again, within all of the different profiles, there's different ways of either getting to the different schools' websites or actually connecting with those schools directly. So it's a great thing to check out, especially if you're still in the consideration stage and not 100% sure what you're looking to study next. We post a lot of different content for all of these schools. We post a lot of their events, so it's a great way to check in on kind of what events are coming up, whether that's open houses, information sessions, or specific faculties actually hosting events. That information is all there and available to you on Schoolfinder as well. And lastly, I would just like to thank everybody for coming here today and wish everybody the best of luck in their scholarship search. So what I'll do now is I'll pass it back over just to my colleague, Chris, just to see how the questions have been rolling in and if there's anything else that I can help with.
Hey, Daniel. Thanks for that. We've got a whole bunch of questions, actually. And so maybe I'll just mention at the top, if we don't get through to all the questions, please drop by the booth, which you'll find under View School Booths on the left. So as I said, we've got a lot of questions, and I'll try to get through sort of some of the top level ones here. I have found that almost all scholarships are for full-time studies with part-time opportunities being very limited. Is there some secret part-time scholarship hub I am not finding? I think a lot, well, I'll let you answer that, Daniel.
No, you go ahead, Chris, that's good.
Yeah, I think a lot of, it depends on what part-time is. If it's just one course per semester, you may not be eligible, but I think a lot of schools would indicate whether it's part-time or full-time. And in this day and age, with COVID especially, there may be extenuating circumstances. There are also, I know, RBC and some other organizations offer scholarships. They're not school-related, but offer scholarships for part-time students. Again, you can find most of that on the website. Great. Here's another one. Are there any scholarships or bursaries for people who live with autoimmune diseases? I'll let you answer that, Daniel.
Yeah. So that's something that I'm not 100% sure about. However, we do actually work with so many niche scholarships, and within the categories on Scholarships Canada, if it's not already a filter there, we always help the folks that we're working with in creating those scholarships. We have some really niche scholarships. We work with one with Manulife, which is based on students who have unfortunately had the loss of a parent or guardian. So I'm sure there's something out there that can help, and creating the account on Scholarships Canada and using the appropriate filters will help you match with those scholarships.
Okay, good. There's another one here. Should I sign up for Scholarships Canada before School Finder? Does the order matter?
No, it doesn't necessarily matter. The results that you'll get for both will be based on your personal circumstances. So like I've mentioned, if you're not sure what you're looking to study next and you're still kind of considering where you're going to study and what program you're going to study, then you will get a lot more results on Scholarships Canada just because your criteria are a lot more broad. But when you're more focused and you know what program you're going to study next, then that will actually help a lot in your results on Scholarships Canada. So my advice to you here would be to use School Finder first, but it doesn't necessarily make a huge difference if you do create a profile on Scholarships Canada first, just because it's just matching with the scholarships, showing you what's available rather than actually applying.
Okay, great. Here's one on gap year. Are there scholarships available for students taking a gap year?
Yeah, for sure, and that's something that we've been asked before. There will be not a ton, but you will also have a lot of scholarships which may actually allude to for students returning or going into certain years. You also may have certain awards which actually offer employment or different pieces during studies where you take a gap year. So yeah, all of that information will be displayed within the scholarships on Scholarships Canada. So within the awards, which I didn't show just because it was the snippets, but there is actually a note section which breaks down all of the different requirements. And when you're reviewing your matching scholarships, all of that information will be clear for you.
Okay, good. Here's one on mental health. Are there any scholarships involving mental health?
Yeah, and that's a big topic with especially within the last few years. Yes is the short answer. I wouldn't be able to give you a kind of breakdown of what they would look like. But yeah, creating the account on Scholarships Canada, again, it's a generic answer that I'm giving for a lot of these more specific awards, but ticking off the particular filters will match you with some of those awards which allude to mental health.
Very good. And this one's come up several times. Is there a limit to how many scholarships we can apply to and be accepted for?
No, that's the short answer, no. Within certain schools, this is what to be careful about, I guess. The schools may only allow you to apply for one award. However, outside of what school you're attending, there is no limit to how many awards you can actually apply to. Now, again, even when you go to some schools, you may be allowed to apply to multiple. That is school specific, and that's something that we can't give you an answer on. But if you wanted to apply, you're studying at University of Waterloo, you apply to one scholarship there, you apply to a scholarship at TD, you would apply to a scholarship at RBC, and also with a religious organization, that's no problem at all.
Okay. Here's one also that I've seen before. What happens if you receive a scholarship to a school that you don't get into, or that you decide to go to a different university?
Yeah, maybe Chris, you can probably answer that back. I'm guessing in that case that you would just have to rescind the prize.
Yeah. So if generally the awards from a college or university, from a school, are for students who are actually going to attend that school. So get in and accept their offer. If you get an offer, a conditional offer, an offer from a college or university, and decide to go to a different college or university, you're likely not eligible for the award from that first university.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. So are scholarships controlled by the school or the providing institution?
It's dependent. Most of the awards that you receive, and if you're asking if you go to a certain school, they will only be in charge of the awards that they're actually giving out. They're not in any way affiliated with other awards that you apply to outside of that organization. So if you're studying at University of Waterloo, they're not in any way involved with scholarships outside of that school.
Okay. Is there any way to get ahead of scholarships and start applying in grade 11?
There are some scholarships which will be available to grade 11s. They may be specific to age, or they may actually be high school specific awards. My best advice, however, because a lot of the awards will be dependent on you enrolling next year, so being in grade 12, is just being prepared, having a lot of the assets ready, which we talked about a little bit about earlier, which is kind of your resumes, personal statements, reference letters. But with most of these awards, it will just be for the coming cycle, which means you unfortunately would not be able to apply when you're a year out.
Okay. And I know there are some international students at the fair today. And here's a question about those scholarships. Are there scholarships for international students?
Yeah, and there is lots. And again, this will be both school specific and non-educational. So within the different schools, depending on where you're looking at studying, and there's so many schools here today, I would try and connect with what schools you're considering and ask them about their international awards. But every school is offering some type of international award. But when it comes to international awards, there's really a lot out there, and a lot of the ones on Scholarships Canada, which are not coming from the school specific, but they will also be open to international students. So there is lots available.
Okay. There's a question about bursaries versus scholarships and what's the difference.
Yeah, maybe you'd be able to answer that one better, Chris.
Yeah. So and I'm going to find a link on the website that will help. But bursaries are generally for students who are in financial need. So they are sort of based on that level of financial need. Scholarships are not generally, but there's a lot of rollover or overlap. So don't let it dissuade you if you're in financial need or not, but we'll indicate that financial need element on the site. Are there any, that's lots of more questions coming in. Holy moly. I graduated from U of A, but when, and I have updated my profile, yet I still see scholarships for U of A, although I do not go. So if you graduated from a school and you're looking for scholarships, but not going on to another school, there are very limited scholarships in the database for graduates. There are some, but very limited. When you're ready to go on to grad school, if you update your profile and say, I'm interested in grad studies, but I went to the U of A, your profile should update accordingly. This is a good one. When should someone begin collecting assets, resumes, reference letters, etc.? And let me publish that one too. When should I begin? So maybe you can answer that while I get it published. Daniel, when should you begin collecting all those things, assets?
Yeah, so before you start your scholarship search, I would say, or as you're doing it. So in short, and I'll make a kind of quick persona. If you're a grade 12 and you're looking to begin studies next year, right now is a good time. There's so much that you can do in collecting kind of or putting together your resume, reference letters, and everything else. Because like I've mentioned, a lot of these smaller awards and so many awards on site won't actually have much work on top of actually maybe a short reference an essay and such, but it will actually be just such a great benefit to do it for you now, have it ready, and then when you start applying to the awards, you already have most of the work done, and that way you'd actually be able to apply to multiple awards really quickly.
Okay. We've got time for a few more. So here's one. Can I continue to apply for scholarships while we're studying at university? So I think this speaks to second, third, and fourth year. Do you want to address that one, Daniel?
Yeah, and yes is the short answer here. Even within the specific university, there may be awards which are just open to second or third year students or fourth year students. But likewise, so many awards on site will be based on age or just being in undergrad or postgrad studies. So there really is a lot of awards on site. Again, it's really dependent on yourself and what you're studying, where you're studying, and so many other factors. But creating the account on Scholarships Canada will actually match you with all of those awards which you will be eligible for.
Okay, great. Got time for one or two more. Here's one that we get quite a bit in terms of grades. Hello, I'm a student in grade 10. I'm asking if it's important to have high grades for better chances to win scholarships.
Yeah, so there was one little piece I had at the very beginning of the presentation which talked about grades. If you have good grades, then yes, for sure, it's a help. It's probably a requirement, and I can't remember the exact figure, but there's only a smaller percentage of ones which actually look for academic average. Just meaning if you don't have high grades, that doesn't discriminate in your chances of winning awards, just because a lot of scholarship administrators do not ask for it. However, there is over 10,000 awards on site which do require academic average. So if you do have high grades, yes, that's a great help. And it's important to have your recent year's grades just to hand.
Okay, here's one on references. Is it important to have, is there a specific format, and what is the purpose of the reference with respect to scholarship applications? I can take that one, having just finished a round of adjudicating many different scholarships. And I think adjudicators or people that review the scholarships are looking for references that are obviously legitimate. Letterhead and whatnot helps. So if a letter, and just create a PDF out of the letter. And the references that work the best seem to be the ones that are sort of direct and to the point, and references from people that know the applicant, so know you if you're looking for a referee, that know you more than just sort of over the last several months, but have known you for several years and can attest to your, whatever the reference is that you're looking for, attest to your skills and ability. And they are important. So, and I don't know how many people are out on LinkedIn, but you'll start to use these references on LinkedIn. So it's a good habit to get into, to collect references, and it'll help you on LinkedIn as well as winning scholarships. Maybe we've got time for one more. Are there scholarships for medical field biotechnology?
Yes. Yeah.
In general, yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, so there'll be awards for every field of study, and there will be specific ones. So I see that's from Emma. Yeah, in short, yes, there will be a lot of generic ones, but then there will also be a lot of specific ones which deal with both students studying that or looking to work in those specific fields. And like I've mentioned, creating the account on Scholarships Canada will actually help you, because you give that data point, we'll be able to point you in the right direction of finding some of those awards.
Okay, and with that, I think we need to close it off. There's still dozens and dozens of questions. I'm sorry we can't get to them at the presentation, but you will be able to ask those questions at the booth. So head on over to the booth, And then if you're not on Scholarships Canada, we encourage you to get a profile. And in addition to matching you to scholarships, there's lots of useful information, FAQs, articles, and whatnot that will help, I think. And Daniel, I'll hand it off to you to say farewell.
Yeah, brilliant. So thank you everybody for coming here today. It was great to connect with everybody. Like Chris has mentioned, I'll be in the booth. So if anyone wants to drop by and ask me a question, I'll be able to help out there following this call. I'd like to thank Chris just for helping out today, and everybody have a great day and connect with as many schools as you can. See you, everybody.